It is time for another American Horror Story called Recap and Review. This one's for episode 5, titled Holes, and yep, there are various holes in it. Let's recap it. The episode opens up with a news report covering all the terrible things going down right now. There's the trainer's severed head, Kai's attack caught on video, the chemical trucks driving around town, and a possible serial killer. And on top of that, there's also Meadow's disappearance. Bob doesn't like it, and it's not just because Beverly's work is just so drastically different from Serena's fluff reports. She's scaring their viewership, and he wants her to stop editorializing and making fake news. Their conversation gets increasingly heated, and it culminates with Bob firing Beverly. Next up, Kai holds a meeting for his campaign, revealing everyone who's Team Kai at this time. Winter, of course, Detective Samuels, we have Harrison, Gary, Beverly, and her cameraman RJ. They're frustrated because their efforts aren't sparking enough fear. Beverly says the problem is that no one is seeing what they're doing. They're only hearing her reports after. When she tells Kai there's no chance of running the tape of Serena's murder on the air and that Bob might also be onto her, Kai says it's time to kill Bob. But before we get there, the scene concludes by confirming what I suspected thanks to last week's episode. Ivy is also part of their operation. Back at home, Allie adds yet another meltdown to her growing list because she sees holes in her neck and bugs crawling in and out of them, and she scratches herself raw there. She goes and tells Dr. Vincent all about it, and also that it's been unbearable for her since Ivy took Oz. She's heartbroken, but it's not just that. Ivy canceled all the credit cards and seemingly made it so that Allie had to stay in that marked house alone. Allie's thinking Ivy was prepared for this. Dr. Vincent tells Allie that Ivy is out of the question right now, though. What Allie needs to do is something to help herself, and she tells him that she needs to not lose her son. She's only allowed supervised visits with Oz, and during the one we get to see in this episode, it's impossible for her to act normal, and Oz seems upset too. We do get a shot of Ivy watching them talk, and her expression is a little hard to read, and maybe I'm just seeing what I want to see right now, but she looks like she feels kind of bad for them. After that, we cut to Ivy and Winter in the car, and Ivy insists that Oz is doing great. And she also tells Winter that he's asked if Winter will be his third mom. Their conversation continues and reveals that the video of Winter and Allie in the bathroom was planned and then planted. When Winter warns Ivy that things are about to get real, Ivy responds by saying, "Radicals are the only people who have ever gotten anything done. I'm ready. I hate this country, what it's become. I hate my fucking wife for letting it happen." Ivy continues by saying she'll do anything to make the world a better place for Oz, even if it means burning it all down. Allison Pill delivers those lines with so much conviction that I believe it, but I'm also keeping in mind that there's a lot going on right now, and maybe Ivy is flip-flopping to extremes because it's so hard to handle. Guess I'm just not quite convinced Ivy is pure evil yet. Next, Team Kai reassembles to go after Bob, and during the attack, we get confirmation that Kai is the one in the multi-face clown mask. Beverly's got the one with the hands coming out of its head. Detective Samuels is the one with its brain exposed. Ivy wears the elephant mask. Winter is in the dress with the rainbow hair. Harrison's has the green hair, and RJ is the one in the striped shirt. Before they kill off Bob, he reveals he's got a gimp upstairs. The guy can't see or hear them, and RJ points out as much, saying they should just let him go. But mere seconds later, Kai brutally stabs the guy, and then they all take turns stabbing Bob to death. Somewhat surprisingly, Beverly steps up to give the final blow without her mask on so Bob can see who's responsible. Making the moment even worse, immediately after that, the episode cuts right to Beverly reporting his death. We've seen some terrible, unforgivable things happen this season, but I think Bob's killing takes the show deeper into unsettling and upsetting territory, maybe because we finally know who's under the masks, and also because some of them choose to go that step further. Kai, when he kills someone they could have let go, and Beverly, when she chooses to let Bob see her before she hits him with the axe. Maybe they genuinely do want to make the world a better place, but Beverly and Kai in particular are just so horrible that they're totally irredeemable. Maybe I'm still giving Harrison a little credit though, because he seems weaker and so easily manipulated, but really, I'd be shocked if Colt managed to redeem any of these characters. At the restaurant, Kai and Beverly assess how the whole stunt went and suggest they might be better off if they go after a certain weak link. I had a feeling it was RJ, and a quick flashback does prove it. We go back to the coffin killing, which also reveals that Meadow was the clown with the long black hair at that point, but what it comes down to is that RJ questions everything, and as they say, he is a cancer and they need to cut him out. But first, back to Allie, who spies on Harrison as he carries a very heavy-looking bag into the house, betting it's a body. See what they did there with the gym episode. Allie also catches him making out with Detective Samuels, and she takes that as her cue to investigate. She goes around back and finds one of her worst nightmares right there. It's a hole, and it's a grave-size hole, and Meadow is lying at the bottom of it. Rather than help Meadow out right then and there, Allie runs home to call the cops. They don't pick up right away, so then she calls Ivy, who the second Allie says the word hole, she doesn't believe her. But at this point, I'm figuring Ivy's in on it anyway. In the middle of their conversation, Meadow bangs on the window and manages to warn Allie that it's a cult and Ivy's in on it before being dragged away. Allie hangs up on Ivy, but then we cut to a Team Kai meeting and it's revealed that Ivy didn't know about Meadow. I'm going to address that more a little later, but for now, Kai is happy because their stunt with Bob gave him a boost at the polls. To celebrate, Kai announces they're going to take care of a problem, and for a quick second I thought that problem was Meadow, but then I realized that RJ wasn't in the room, and sure enough, he's in big trouble. The only one who stands up for him is Ivy, and Kai punishes her for that by bullying her into taking the first shot with a nail gun. After that, they all take one shot with it before Kai delivers the final nail, and that's the end of RJ. After that, Beverly gets some pinky time with Kai, and she continues to prove she's very much on his level. Rather than be interrogated herself, she demands to get Kai's real story, and I kind of suspect he gave it to her. So back in 2014, his father was in a wheelchair due to a motorcycle accident, and he became a nasty guy, to say the least. One night, his mother shoots his father, kills herself, and Kai is there to see it. Rather than call the police, he calls his brother, and here's a reveal I've been waiting for. His brother is Dr. Vincent. So Big Bro insists on covering it all up to save his practice and to get the most money out of their parents, so they just leave the bodies in the bedroom to rot and decompose. Kai tells Beverly that sometimes he still visits them, and during one of those visits, he tells his father he still hates him, but tells his mother he's gonna make her proud someday. It's pretty weird to sympathize with Kai after the incident with Bob, but I'd be lying if I didn't admit that I felt a tiny something for him. Yes, he could have defied his brother and gone to the cops, but he was put on this path more so because of their actions, not his own. Perhaps down the line we'll get flashbacks that reveal young Kai has always been a psychopath in the making, but right now this is a scene that shows the world can be a really cruel place, and sometimes things that are out of an individual's control can shape who they are. It's also nice to finally get a moment of weakness from Kai, and especially in a way that doesn't take away from what I think he's capable of. The show didn't just weaken the villain it's been building, but it threw in a new challenge for him. It seems like Beverly can get in your head just as easily as Kai can, if not better, and she always has no problem killing to get what she wants. It's an interesting thing to consider, especially when so much of this episode was about a potential weak link ruining Kai's operation. What if he should have been looking out for someone who can overpower him instead? As for Ivy, I love how they're keeping me on my toes with her storyline. It really felt like she was on the path to pure hate and darkness, but then she actually stood up for RJ, and considering RJ was in that position because he stood up for the Gimp, that was really a dangerous card for Ivy to play. Yes, in the end, she did cave and shoot him with the nail gun, but what choice did she really have? Given what she's been part of, she needs to be responsible for what she's done, but the thought of her maybe having to run to Allie for help and Allie not trusting her now is a very intriguing story option. Overall, I can't say Holes was as strong as 11-9 because I thought that episode was just exceptional, but it does continue to build characters and take interesting twists and turns. It definitely veered more towards gory horror, which normally in American Horror Story I like and have a little fun with, but here I found it more uncomfortable to watch than usual. It's very violent, which is probably why to a degree, but I also think it's because the show has been building these characters and building their agenda so well. It's hard to look at, but it's also hard to sit with because you know what it accomplishes in the long run. In Bob's case, it's scary in the moment, and it'll scare anybody who watches that report, giving Kai more power. It also feels a little necessary to point out that airing that kind of footage would just never fly on a real news network. But anyway, then with RJ again, it's scary in the moment, but then also manipulates the member of Team Kai in a more intimate way, probably making them capable of committing even greater atrocities. So we'll probably get to see them stoop even lower next week when we get episode 6, titled Midwestern Assassin. But for now, sound off in the comments below and let me know what you thought of this week's episode. And of course, before I close out, I've got to give someone a Patreon shout out, and this someone is very special because it's my mom. No one has supported me quite like my mom. She is the best, and there's no way I'd be here doing this if it hadn't been for her backing me from day one. Mom, thank you so much. I love you. If you want your own shout out in one of my videos, you can find the Patreon link in the description section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you soon.